Hi, my name is Console. Welcome to today's video. I'm going to be focusing on why I hate autism. Throughout the years, I've been working in a hospital and in a community helping children with autism and learning difficulties. And I've worked with so many therapies. I've worked with speech language therapists, occupational therapists, psychologists. I've worked with anyone who is mainly focusing on any intervention to do with the children with autism. So I had all this experience, but throughout the years when my only child was born, he was born with other health condition, and I couldn't connect either he has autism or not because he was much more dependent on me. He wasn't really active a child. Until he had his surgery at the age of 4. And after age of 4, I started seeing him moving around and trying to do things, but he wasn't coping so well. So I took him to the hospital for him to be tested to check if he may have any autism. So he was diagnosed with autism at the age of 4, heading to 5 years of age. As the mother, receiving a diagnosis that your child has autism, it was a shock to me. And although I had experience working with the children with autism, but now when it came to my own case, I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even know how to start. I was kind of very overwhelmed. But I took a deep breath and I now started connecting everything that I've learned throughout the years and everything I've seen the therapists do for these children, and also with my own input that I was doing as a mental health nurse. I was also doing a really good job with these children, and so I started connecting everything together. I started working with my son to improve his well-being, because I've seen children that I've worked with personally grow up in a very positive way, and where the parent have not been managing to do anything for them. And one of the things that I've realized is that most mothers, when they receive a diagnosis of their children, especially when you're being told that there is nothing else that can be done, which also I was told that there is nothing can be done, we kind of go into a shock mode and you feel like really there is nothing can be done. I want to tell you that there is so much you can do. And the fact that I really hated autism, first of all, I didn't like the name autism. Although I've been working with the children with the autism, but I didn't like the label that being placed on my child. So I tried to reject everything comes with autism. And one thing really I didn't really like about the autism is that my son couldn't eat the food that I cook. He was very selective. He could eat only one type of food. And I hated that. I hated always seeing him eating one single food throughout 1 month, 2 months without changing any diet. Another thing I didn't like was sleeping. My son's sleeping pattern was upside down. It affected my well-being. It affected the whole family, his siblings and my husband, because when he wasn't sleeping throughout the night, he would just make noise. He would be wanting to open doors. He would be wanting to watch TV. He would want to do everything that he does during the day, which was very destructive for the whole family. So I didn't like that kind of behavior, because I wanted to have my own sleep, and I wished him to have a better sleep, because children, they grow and develop well when they are asleep. So if you see your child is not sleeping, which means your child is not going to develop the way they should be developed. And another thing that I didn't like was behavior. My son will cry and cry, especially when we go out and he wants to have something and it's not possible for him to have. He will just have this meltdown, and I will try most of the things that I know of, and I won't still get anywhere with his behavior. So I really didn't like that, because each time I want to go out, I want to have a peaceful mind to do what I'm going to do outside and then come back. But most of the time, it wasn't that case. Another thing I didn't like most was to seeing my child walking on tiptoe. My son had sensory overload, and it was so difficult for him to like walk properly. And also another thing is that he couldn't really hold any object. Anything was kind of heavy for him. He couldn't hold anything tight, and everything was just dropping out of his hand. His muscles was very weak, and I really didn't like seeing him eating his clothes, because I'll put him in one t-shirt. At the end of the day, the whole front is all gone. I really hated seeing him in that kind of behavior. And another thing I didn't like, my son wasn't fan of noise. Each time that you know, we go out, or maybe we just put on any music in the house, he will cover his ears because he doesn't want to hear it. And I noticed all that because I worked with the children with autism, and I know what kind of things that we do for them. And also another thing was that my child couldn't play with his siblings. It was heartbreaking. I wanted him to be a part of his sibling. I wanted him to enjoy life with them, to play with them, to understand what's happening around him. But he wasn't able to grasp all this kind of understanding. Another thing I hated most, he was just breaking everything in the house, like plates, cups, anything. So, and I wasn't able to buy things every single day. Another thing that was the main issue is the communication. My son could not communicate, could not point on what he wants, could not express how he feels. Everything is to do with hitting and breaking things and crying, because that's how he could just express how he feels. And that was really heartbreaking for me. Looking after him from morning to sunset and going to bed, I was so exhausted as a mother. I dealt with this about a year, because I was trying to figure out things that I need to start putting in place to help him. And also I was still working full-time, which was very difficult. So I had to find a way that I can really support my child. So all these things really pushed me hard, because I didn't want to see my son behaving in these certain ways. I didn't enjoy seeing my son living this kind of way. I didn't enjoy life during that 1 year after his diagnosis. The whole family was a kind of crisis, and I knew that there is no how we are going to survive with how we were going, because all of us, we were kind of like lost it. My children in a school, his siblings, they weren't coping well in a school. Kind of, they were sleeping in a class when their teacher was teaching, and I was trying to push forward for working. By each time I go to work, if I sit down on a computer, in 1 minute I will be kind of dozing off. So I knew that I must do something. The pain that I had, it pushed me to do something. And also the desire I had for my child, it pushed me to do something. And I didn't want me, my family, my son to live the way we were living. I wanted to see him being different. I wanted him to experience another life, and I wanted the whole family to experience another life. So this is how I really managed to now start putting everything into practice that everything I've learned, everything I've done throughout my work experience, I put them together and started supporting my son. It was so incredible that when you have a desire about, especially if you know that the outcome you are looking for, I was unstoppable. The day I started working with my son, I couldn't stop. It's like my heart was beating to see the best outcome that I was looking for. And in a few months of starting, I started seeing tremendous improvement. I started seeing my son from having sleepless nights to a stable night. I think that was the best thing that has ever happened. And when I started seeing all that, I was much more inspired to do other things that he needed to work on. The results started coming one after another, one after another, one after another, one after another. And you know, when you have started working on something and you see the results is becoming positive, you feel like there is nothing is going to stop you. If you are a parent who feels like very overwhelmed and you wish your son could be at the other side that you wish him to be, everything is possible. When I started working with my son, I knew that I can do something, I can change something. And I did everything that I can. And I've seen the results that I was after. If you're a parent out there that you really feel like you're so overwhelmed and you feel like that you have this kind of pain and you don't know how to end it, everything is possible. Who feels any of this pain, or maybe your pain could be different. Maybe you're struggling with another thing that I did not mention, but for me, this pain was the main priority for me. I really wanted them to get off the way so that my life can move on and my children's life can move on, our whole family to come back together again, enjoy life, have a smile in the house. I've worked with so many families where the family goes apart because of having a child with autism. But I want you to see that having a child with autism is just a blessing that God have placed on your hands. And I want you to bless your child as a gift and as an inspiration for your life. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on my next video.